When you think of James Cameron's Avatar, what comes to mind? The world, the visuals, right? Well, it's so much more than just a movie franchise. It's a complete reimagining of what filmmaking can even be. Today, we're going to go behind the curtain and look at the incredible technology that brought Pandora to life. And we're not talking about a small step forward here. No way. The work that went into these films is widely considered one of the most transformative technological leaps in the entire history of cinema. This was a massive, massive undertaking where they didn't just use new tools, they had to literally invent them. But here's the real kicker, and it's kind of the whole point of this story. The goal? It was never actually about the tech. It was about something way more fundamental, something much more human, preserving emotional truth. Okay, let's dive right in with our first section, the Avatar effect. We're going to see how every single piece of this mind-blowing innovation was really there to serve the story. And this quote, this says it all. This was the guiding light for the entire project. James Cameron's single-minded goal was, and I'm quoting here, to preserve the raw, unfiltered emotional authenticity of human actors' performances. Every gadget, every line of code was built to serve that one powerful idea. So let's rewind the clock back to 2009, to that first film. The challenge they were facing was just immense. How in the world do you make 9-foot-tall, blue, cat-like aliens feel completely, 100% emotionally real? Now, to really get the breakthrough, you have to understand this crucial difference. We already had traditional motion capture, which basically tracks body movements. It tells you what an actor did. But Cameron's team pioneered performance capture. This is a whole other level. This is about recording the entire performance, the how and the why of an emotion, capturing every tiny little facial twitch, every dart of the eyes. You know, it's the difference between a puppet and a soul. And this is how they pulled it off. Actors like Zoe Saldana and Sam Worthington wore these snug-fitting suits covered in thousands of little markers. But the real magic, the secret sauce, was in the lightweight head rigs. These things had tiny high-res cameras pointed right at their faces, feeding every single micro-movement into this incredibly sophisticated system that then translated human muscle contractions into those hyper-realistic Na'vi faces. The next big leap was something called the SimulCam, which Cameron called his magic window. And that's exactly what it was. It merged the live camera feed with all that real-time performance capture data. So what that means is, while he was standing in a big empty studio, he could look at a monitor and see the actors as their Na'vi characters actually walking through the jungles of Pandora. He was basically directing a digital movie on a physical set. It's just wild. Okay, so they cracked the code on emotional realism on dry land. But for the sequel, The Way of Water, they decided to go after something that a lot of experts thought was just technically impossible. And that brings us to the central question for the sequel. I mean, they'd perfected this incredible system on land, but how on earth do you take all of that amazing technology and make it work underwater? Well, the answer wasn't simple. It took 18 months, a full year and a half of pure research and development, just to solve this one massive problem. So here was the issue, the real scientific hurdle. The infrared light that the whole performance capture system relies on just doesn't work underwater. The water scatters it and absorbs it, which makes all those tracking markers completely invisible to the cameras. The entire system was basically useless. The breakthrough, though, was just so clever and truly groundbreaking. The engineers came up with a dual camera system. They kept the normal infrared cameras above the water, but below the surface, they used specialized ultraviolet cameras with light that we can't even see. And bam, just like that, they could get crystal clear tracking data right through the water. Absolutely brilliant. And, capturing the actors was really only half the battle. To actually create Pandora's oceans, Weta Effects developed this proprietary framework called Loki. It was a massive leap in fluid dynamics, capable of simulating pretty much everything, from huge ocean waves right down to the tiniest bubbles and mist. Get this, the film had over 2,000 individual water effect shots and required an absolutely astounding 18.5 petabytes of data to render it all. So where does it all go from here? With those huge hurdles cleared, the focus for the upcoming film, Fire and Ash, is now shifting to refining what they've built and expanding on it. You can see the evolution so clearly here. In 2009, it was all about achieving real-time performance capture. In 2022, it was about conquering that impossible underwater environment. And now, for 2025, it's about hybrid filmmaking and simulating new, even more challenging elements. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means more blending of practical stunts and physical sets with the digital world. It means an even more flexible workflow where Cameron can choose his camera shots long after the actors have already gone home. And yeah, it means tackling ambitious new simulations for fire and volcanic eruptions, and even bringing in Cirque du Soleil performers to capture the dynamic movements of creatures. And all of this brings us full circle, right back to the legacy of all this hard work. It goes so far beyond just cool special effects and leads us back to that core idea: technology in service of the story. When it's all said and done, the legacy is crystal clear. The Avatar franchise completely redefined performance capture, elevating it to a respected art form that celebrates actors instead of replacing them. It proved that the most powerful technology is the kind that becomes invisible, the kind that just lets the audience connect that much deeper with the story. Which leaves us with this one last, powerful question to think about. What happens when the only real limit to cinematic storytelling is just the human imagination? For more deep dives like this, be sure to visit our website, FAIR's Solution.